Okay, I wanted to go over guidelines as you start thinking about your argumentative essay. The first step is to draft a thesis. Since this is an argumentative essay, you need to argue something. Don't have a topic that everyone agrees with off the bat. So if this were a report, you would just be telling me about, for example, what Goedekunst says. And you could say something like, in the paper, I will talk about how important nonverbal communication is. Okay. You don't have to read very much. You don't have to look at very much to agree with that statement. What I want you to write about is something that you have to convince an audience about. And so it has to be something that can be researched and something on which people could have different opinions. So what I'm asking you to do for Thursday is to draft a thesis. So the thesis can be on a topic that's health related or can be on another topic. What it has to do is be relevant to the course of intercultural communication. So you have to look and see if you can address material either in Goedekunst or Moreau. You don't need to cover both, but it has to be relevant to intercultural communication. You're going to draft a thesis statement for Thursday, and my expectation is this thesis will be revised over time. As you start researching and writing, you likely will find that you no longer agree with one of the points and you want to change it. So you'll have to revise your draft thesis. The second step, come up with 3 subpoints. So the assignment is to write a 7 to 8 page paper. And sometimes this can cause some white page anxiety because you think about it being this big assignment. I have to fill in with meaningful thoughts 7 or 8 pages. So what makes it easier is to kind of break it down, chunk it down into 3 subpoints. So you can think about writing 2 shorter papers or 3 short papers and then bringing them together. Because if you have 3 2-page segments, that's 6 pages already. And then with an introduction and with a conclusion, it pushes you at 7 and maybe beyond. Okay? So you'll be collecting evidence to back up your 3 subpoints. If you don't find evidence for one of your points, then you may have to change it. Here is an example of a draft thesis statement. The 3 most important forms of nonverbal communication for patients in a coma are touch, tone of voice, and favorite food aromas. Okay? Those are 3 possible subpoints. You're starting out, so you're giving it your kind of best guess at this point. You'll collect evidence in the forms of articles, 3 to 5 references, and then you'll have a reference or 2 from either Goedekunst or Moreau. But Goedekunst and Moreau don't count towards your required 3 to 5 pieces of additional evidence. Okay. It's best to be specific about subpoints. Vague subpoints will lead to weak sources that are too general. If you make these very kind of sweeping statements, then often what you end up doing is you find something on the internet, and it's really not very convincing. It's definitely not scholarly, and it won't carry you very far in terms of having a convincing argument. So generally, with this paper, be as specific as you can based on the evidence that you have available to you. Okay? Think of an audience with whom you'd like to share your thesis. It always helps to think of an audience because then you can write in response to the audience. So you can say, well, I'm going to be teaching nurses. Well, what stage nurse are they? Do they have any kind of specialization? Think about your audience, because to the extent that you can write for someone besides me, you will have an interesting paper. Okay, those are my thoughts. I will post a submission point on Sakai for your draft thesis, and I will do a Google Hangout section with each of you to talk about your draft thesis. So looking forward to that. Hope you're having a great week. God bless.